There is a sacred journey that every soul must one day take, a journey not from one place to another, but from one heart to another. It is not traveled with feet or measured in miles, but carried through presence, openness, and a willingness to be vulnerable. This path is what I call initiation, the awakening to deeper connection, where human beings remember that beyond the roles, beyond the identities, beyond the masks we wear, there exists a shared pulse of life that beats within each of us. To connect heart to heart is to step into this pulse, to honor it, and to let it guide us into relationships that are real, transformative, and timeless. The first step in this initiation is courage, the courage to open. We live in a world that teaches us to protect ourselves, to guard our emotions, and to hide behind facades of strength. But true strength is found in lowering the walls and allowing another to see us as we are. Vulnerability becomes the door to authentic connection, and only those willing to walk through it discover the depth of human closeness. As we move deeper, we realize that connection is not about what we say, but about presence. To be fully present with another person is to offer them the rarest gift of all, our undivided attention, our full awareness, our silent witness. Presence says, I see you. I hear you. I am with you. When this presence flows from the heart, words become secondary, and souls begin to converse beyond language. Another essential part of this path is compassion, the ability to feel with another rather than simply for them. Compassion dissolves the illusion of separation. When we feel compassion, we do not stand outside someone's struggle offering pity. We step inside their reality and experience life with them, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart. This shared space of compassion becomes the birthplace of trust. Trust itself is a sacred milestone in this initiation. Without trust, no connection can deepen. Trust is built not by grand promises, but by consistency, by showing up again and again with honesty, with kindness, with integrity. Trust allows hearts to open without fear, knowing they will be held gently and not broken carelessly. Along this journey, we also come to understand the power of listening, not just with our ears, but with our entire being. True listening is an act of love. It is more than waiting for our turn to speak, it is an opening of the heart to fully receive the other. When we listen this way, people no longer feel like voices in a crowd, they feel like souls that matter. Another key in this initiation is acceptance. To connect heart to heart, we must let go of the need to fix, change, or control the other. Acceptance is the highest form of love because it says, you are enough as you are. I honor the truth of your being. When two hearts meet in this field of acceptance, a bond is formed that no judgment can erode. And finally, this path teaches us that true connection always expands outward. When one heart touches another in sincerity, the ripple travels beyond the two, reaching families, communities, and even strangers. Connection is contagious. Love shared becomes love multiplied. It is never contained. It is initiation into a greater whole, a reminder that we are all threads in one vast tapestry of existence. So the journey from heart to heart is not just about personal closeness, but about awakening a collective memory that we belong to one another. Initiation is not a ceremony performed outside of us. It is a moment of inner awakening that happens whenever we choose to show up with honesty, presence, compassion, trust, listening, acceptance, and love. This is the path to connection, and this path is open to all who are willing to walk it. To walk the path from heart to heart, the very first initiation we encounter is courage, the courage to open. It may sound simple, but in truth, it is one of the most profound and challenging steps a human being can take. For we live in a world that, from the moment we are born, conditions us to build walls around ourselves. We learn early to protect our emotions, to hide our pain, to show strength even when we are trembling inside. Society praises those who can mask their struggles, who can pretend they are untouched, unbroken, invulnerable. And yet, the deepest connections of the heart do not arise from perfection, but from the raw honesty of imperfection. To open is to defy the instinct to shield ourselves, and instead, allow another to witness us as we truly are. Courage to open is not about shouting our secrets from the rooftops or exposing ourselves recklessly to anyone. It is about choosing carefully, but choosing truthfully, when to let the walls down. It is about recognizing that to be vulnerable is not weakness, it is strength of the highest order. Only a courageous soul dares to say, this is who I am, with my scars, my doubts, my longings, and my dreams. I trust that if you meet me here, in this space of truth, something beautiful will arise between us. Such openness is not an act of naivety, but an initiation into authenticity. Think for a moment of the countless times people have stood side by side, speaking, laughing, even working together, yet never truly knowing each other. They exchange polite words, but their hearts remain closed, hidden behind smiles that never reach the soul. Why? Because opening requires risk. It means we might be misunderstood, we might be judged, or even rejected. And rejection is a pain every human instinctively fears. So, we wear masks. We present polished versions of ourselves to the world, hoping it will be enough to gain acceptance. But what happens? The more masks we wear, the lonelier we become. For no matter how admired our masks may be, deep down we know that nobody has seen the real us. And how can someone truly love us if they have never met our true face? This is where courage comes in. Courage whispers that even if there is risk, even if there is uncertainty, there is also the possibility of something far greater, real connection, soul connection, the kind of bond that cannot be faked or fabricated. Courage invites us to take the leap, to open the door of the heart and say, "Here I am." And when two people both summon this courage, when both decide to remove the armor and meet each other in raw humanity, a miracle occurs. The fear of being seen transforms into the joy of being understood. The loneliness of isolation dissolves into the comfort of belonging. But courage to open does not only transform relationships with others, it transforms the relationship we have with ourselves. Every time we open, we remind ourselves that we are enough as we are. We affirm that our story, our emotions, our truth is worthy of being shared. Each act of openness is an initiation into deeper self-acceptance. And as we begin to live this way, something shifts. We stop needing to prove ourselves. We stop fearing exposure. We begin to trust that authenticity will always draw to us the people meant for our lives, and it will gently filter away those who cannot meet us there. Opening the heart is not a one-time act, it is a practice. Some days it will feel natural, effortless, like breathing. Other days, fear will rise, the old voices of doubt will whisper, and the walls will feel heavy to lower. But courage is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to open anyway, to risk anyway, to love anyway. And the more we practice, the stronger this courage becomes, until openness itself becomes our natural way of living. If courage to open is the doorway, then presence is the space we step into once that door is unlocked. Presence is not about simply standing in front of someone or being in the same physical room. It is the art of arriving fully with our mind, our body, and most importantly, our heart. In our modern world, people are often together yet profoundly absent. They speak while glancing at their phones, they nod while their thoughts wander, they smile while their hearts remain distant. This is not connection, it is coexistence. True connection demands something deeper, the gift of full presence. Presence is powerful because it communicates without words. When we are truly present with another human being, they feel it before they even notice it. They feel seen, valued, and acknowledged. Presence says, "I am here not just in body but in spirit. I am not rushing ahead to the future, I am not stuck in the past, I am with you in this very moment." And when two people meet in that timeless moment, the heart begins to relax, to soften, to trust. The noise of the world fades and a sacred silence takes over. A silence not of emptiness but of fullness, where every glance, every gesture, every pause carries meaning. To be present requires discipline, because the human mind is like a restless bird, always flying from one thought to another. We think about what happened yesterday, we worry about what might happen tomorrow, and in the process, we miss the richness of the now. But connection does not exist in memory or anticipation. It only exists in the living moment. Presence is the act of gathering all those scattered pieces of attention and bringing them back, here and now, to the person before us. It is an initiation into awareness, and it asks us to lay aside distraction and give the one before us the honor of our undivided attention. Imagine speaking to someone who is half listening, nodding while scrolling through their phone, giving you only fragments of their attention. You walk away feeling unheard, unimportant, maybe even invisible. Now imagine the opposite. Someone who looks you in the eye, whose body language leans toward you, whose silence is filled with attentiveness, who hears not only your words but the emotion behind them. You walk away feeling lighter, brighter, more alive, because presence is healing. It tells us without needing to say it, you matter. Your voice matters. Your heart matters. This is why presence is such a vital initiation on the path to heart-to-heart connection. Presence is not passive. It is active, alive, vibrant. It requires us to listen deeply, not only to words but to tone, to pauses, to the language of the body and the subtle currents of energy between souls. Sometimes, presence means saying nothing at all, for silence can hold more love than 1,000 spoken sentences. A silent, attentive presence can cradle another person's grief, amplify their joy, or soothe their fears without needing to fix, explain, or interrupt. To be present is to allow space for the other person's soul to breathe freely. And yet, presence is not something we can fake. People know when we are only half there, pretending to listen, waiting for our turn to respond. They feel when our mind is elsewhere. But they also know in an instant when we are fully with them. This is because presence is not just a technique, it is a state of being. It requires us to quiet the noise inside ourselves, to step away from the chaos of our own inner dialogue, and to create a stillness within that makes space for the other. That stillness is what makes presence so rare and therefore so precious. Presence is also contagious. When we choose to be fully present with another, we often draw them into presence as well. They sense the depth of our attention, and it awakens something within them, inviting them to lay down their distractions and meet us in the same space. In this way, presence does not just connect, it harmonizes. Two minds, two hearts, two souls find themselves resonating in the same moment, the same rhythm, the same unspoken understanding. This is why presence is a form of initiation. It takes us out of the surface level of interaction and into the depth of communion. It reminds us that beyond words and actions, there is a deeper layer where souls can meet in quiet recognition. When we learn to offer presence, we no longer seek to impress or persuade, we simply arrive as we are, and in that simplicity, hearts align effortlessly. If presence allows us to meet another in the moment, then compassion allows us to enter their inner world. Compassion is not simply kindness, and it is not mere sympathy, it is the ability to feel with another rather than only for them. It is the act of stepping into their shoes, walking their path, breathing their air, and sensing their joys and their sorrows as though they were our own. Where sympathy may stand at a distance, compassion closes that distance. It dissolves the invisible wall of separation that so often keeps us apart and creates a bridge of shared humanity. Compassion does not ask us to fix or rescue, it asks us to understand. It is the recognition that pain, struggle, fear, and longing are not signs of weakness, but universal experiences of being human. To meet another with compassion is to say, I do not turn away from your suffering. I do not dismiss your pain. I stand here with you, heart to heart, willing to feel what you feel so you know you are not alone. And in that willingness, something extraordinary happens. The burden grows lighter not because it has been erased but because it has been shared. There is a quiet strength in compassion that is often overlooked. Many mistake compassion for softness, as though it belongs only to those who cannot bear confrontation or conflict. But compassion is not fragile. It is resilient, it is brave. It takes far more strength to sit with someone's suffering than it does to avoid it. It takes more courage to lean in when the instinct is to pull away. Compassion is the force that allows us to hold space for another's storm without needing to control the outcome. Think of the moments in life when you were hurting and someone simply sat with you. Not offering solutions, not giving advice, but simply being there, fully present, fully open, fully compassionate. You remember those moments because they reached you at a depth that words alone could not touch. Compassion communicates on a level far deeper than the mind. It speaks directly to the heart. It says, I see you, I feel you, and I am willing to carry this moment with you. And for many, that simple act of being seen and felt is more healing than any remedy. Compassion also transforms the way we perceive others. Without it, we judge quickly, criticize harshly, and distance ourselves from those whose behavior we cannot understand. But with compassion, judgment softens. We begin to see beyond the surface of someone's actions and into the story that shaped them. The angry person may not simply be rude, they may be carrying a wound no one has cared to notice. The distant person may not be cold, they may be protecting a heart that has been broken too many times. Compassion does not excuse harmful behavior, but it invites us to understand its roots. And in understanding, we create the possibility for healing both for them and for ourselves. To live with compassion is to walk through the world with open eyes and an open heart. It means we no longer reduce people to labels, categories, or appearances. Instead, we recognize that behind every face there is a story, behind every action there is a reason, and behind every heart there is a longing to be loved. Compassion awakens us to the reality that humanity is not divided by differences, but united by shared emotions, the same tears, the same fears, the same hopes, the same joys. But compassion does not only flow outward, it must also flow inward. Many of us are skilled at offering compassion to others but are harsh and unforgiving toward ourselves. We carry guilt, shame, regret, and self-criticism like heavy chains, forgetting that we too are human, we too deserve tenderness. The path of heart-to-heart connection cannot be complete without self-compassion, for only when we learn to hold ourselves with gentleness can we fully extend that same gentleness to others. Compassion for the self is not indulgence, it is initiation into wholeness. Compassion is contagious. A single act of genuine compassion can ripple outward, inspiring others to do the same. A kind word, a patient pause, a hand held at the right moment. These gestures may seem small, but they carry the power to shift entire atmospheres. Compassion multiplies because it awakens something primal within us. The recognition that love, in its purest form, is not limited or selective, but expansive. Each time we choose compassion, we reinforce the invisible threads that bind us together as one human family. If courage opens the heart, if presence holds the space, and if compassion bridges the distance, then trust is the ground on which all of this can truly stand. Without trust, connection cannot deepen. Without trust, the heart remains guarded, unsure, hesitant. Trust is not given lightly, nor should it be. It is earned, it is nurtured, and it is sacred. It grows slowly, like a seed that pushes through the soil, fragile at first but with the potential to become a tree strong enough to weather any storm. Trust is not built in grand gestures, though those may help. It is built in the small, consistent moments when someone shows up as they said they would, when their actions align with their words, when they honor our vulnerability instead of exploiting it. Every act of reliability, every moment of honesty, every instance of integrity is like a stone laid in the foundation of trust. Over time, those stones form something unshakable, a ground where hearts can meet and rest. When trust is present, openness feels safe. We do not have to calculate our every word, we do not have to censor our emotions, we do not have to fear being ridiculed, betrayed, or dismissed. Trust allows us to exhale, to be fully ourselves without the constant weight of self-protection. And when two people can breathe in this way together, their bond becomes more than just interaction, it becomes communion. Yet, trust is delicate. It takes years to build and only moments to break. A single act of dishonesty, a single betrayal, a single instance of neglect can cause cracks that run deep. And this is why trust is not just something we expect from others, it is something we must also be willing to honor ourselves. To demand trust without being trustworthy is to plant seeds in barren soil. If we want others to trust us, we must embody the same honesty, consistency, and integrity we desire from them. Trust is also about transparency. It thrives in the light of clarity and withers in the shadows of secrecy. To be trustworthy is not to be perfect, it is to be real. It is the courage to admit mistakes, to own our shortcomings, to speak truths even when they are uncomfortable. People do not trust perfection, because perfection is not relatable. People trust honesty, humility, and accountability. But trust goes deeper still. It is not only the trust we place in another person, but also the trust we place in life itself. At its core, trust is a surrender. It is choosing to believe that even if we are vulnerable, even if we expose our hearts, even if we risk pain, something meaningful and beautiful can come of it. Without this trust in the process of connection, we will never allow ourselves to fully step into it. Trust is an initiation into surrender, into the understanding that not everything can be controlled, but much can be healed if we are willing to let go. Think of relationships where trust has been broken. The silence grows heavier, the words become cautious, the distance expands. Even if people remain physically close, the heart withdraws. Without trust, love itself struggles to flow freely, because love thrives in openness, and openness requires safety. And now think of relationships where trust is alive and strong, where you can share your deepest fears without shame, your wildest dreams without ridicule, your truest self without hesitation. Those relationships feel like home, because trust transforms ordinary bonds into sanctuaries for the soul. Trust is not only about what others do, it is also about the trust we cultivate within ourselves. Can we trust our own hearts? Can we trust our intuition, our inner guidance, our ability to choose wisely and love deeply? Often, we seek trust externally because we have not yet built it internally. But when we trust ourselves, we are less shaken by the unpredictability of others. We become steady, grounded, and whole. Then trust with another is no longer about dependency, but about mutual honoring, a shared dance where each person brings their stability into the connection. This is why trust is such a crucial initiation in the path from heart to heart. It is the invisible thread that holds the connection steady, the unseen anchor that allows love, presence, and compassion to deepen without fear of collapse. Without it, connection remains fragile. With it, connection becomes unbreakable. Among the most overlooked yet powerful gifts we can offer another human being is the gift of listening, not just with our ears but with our whole being, with our heart. Most people think they know how to listen, but in truth many do not. What we often call listening is, in reality, waiting for our turn to speak. We nod politely, we maintain just enough eye contact to appear engaged, but inwardly our mind is preparing responses, forming judgments, rehearsing replies. This is not true listening. True listening is an act of love. It is an initiation into humility, patience, and deep presence, where we silence the noise of our own thoughts long enough to truly receive another soul. When we listen with the heart, we are not merely processing words, we are attuning ourselves to the spaces between them. We hear tone, we sense emotion, we feel energy. Sometimes the most important part of what someone is sharing is not contained in the sentences themselves, but in the hesitation before they speak, in the tremor of their voice, in the sigh that escapes between words. The heart, when it listens, hears not only what is spoken but also what is hidden, what longs to be expressed but struggles to find form. Listening with the heart requires us to release the need to fix. This is one of the most difficult disciplines, because so often when someone shares their struggles, our instinct is to provide solutions, to give advice, to rescue them from their pain. But many times people do not want answers. They want to be witnessed. They want to be heard. They want to pour out the weight they have been carrying and feel that someone cares enough to hold it with them, even if only for a moment. When we rush to fix, we unknowingly interrupt this sacred process. But when we simply listen, fully, deeply, without agenda, we create a space where healing naturally begins. Think of a time when you felt unheard, when you were speaking and realized the other person was distracted, dismissive, or already forming their rebuttal. How did it feel? Likely you felt invisible, unimportant, dismissed. Now think of a time when someone listened to you with genuine care, when they gave you their full attention, when their eyes and body language told you they were not elsewhere but fully with you. How did that feel? It felt like being recognized, like being valued, like being human. That is the power of listening with the heart. It transforms the speaker and the listener alike. This kind of listening is rare because it demands selflessness. To listen deeply, we must quiet the ego's desire to dominate the conversation, to prove our intelligence, to share our own story in return. We must surrender the spotlight and allow the other to take center stage, not out of obligation but out of reverence. This is why listening with the heart is an initiation. It requires us to transcend the self for a moment and become fully devoted to the other. Listening with the heart also requires patience. Sometimes people do not communicate in polished, coherent sentences. Sometimes their truth emerges slowly, haltingly, wrapped in layers of hesitation or guardedness. If we rush them, if we pressure them, if we grow impatient, they retreat. But if we hold steady, if we wait with gentleness, their truth gradually unfolds, like a flower opening when it feels the warmth of the sun. The heart that listens becomes that sun, drawing out what otherwise might have remained hidden. It is also important to recognize that listening with the heart does not always mean agreement. We can listen deeply and still hold different views. In fact, listening becomes even more crucial when we disagree. Too often, conflict escalates not because of the differences themselves, but because no one feels heard. But when both sides feel truly listened to, tension softens and respect grows, even in the midst of differing perspectives. Listening does not erase differences, but it builds bridges strong enough to hold them. There is a sacred stillness in heart-centered listening. It is the stillness of presence, of compassion, of trust. It is the stillness that tells the other, you are safe here. You can bring your whole self into this space and I will not turn away. Such listening is rare, but when it happens, it is unforgettable. People may forget what we said to them, but they will never forget how deeply we listened to them. And perhaps the deepest aspect of listening with the heart is this. It allows us to hear not only the other but also ourselves. As we learn to create silence and receptivity within, we begin to hear our own inner voice more clearly. We notice the subtle stirrings of intuition, the whispers of wisdom, the gentle guidance of the soul. Listening outward and listening inward are not separate, they are intertwined. The more deeply we listen to others, the more deeply we learn to listen to ourselves, and the more deeply we listen to ourselves, the more open we become to listening to others. This is why listening with the heart is not simply a skill, it is a way of being. It is an initiation into a new level of connection where words are no longer just sounds but sacred vessels of meaning, and where silence itself becomes part of the conversation. It is through this kind of listening that hearts recognize each other, that walls dissolve, that love flows effortlessly in the spaces where before there was only noise. And so, this journey from heart to heart is not a path we walk once, but a path we are invited to walk every single day. Each key, courage to open, presence, compassion, trust, listening, acceptance, and the expansion of connection, is like a step on a sacred staircase that lifts us beyond separation and into unity. It is not about perfection, for none of us will always embody these qualities flawlessly. It is about practice, about willingness, about returning again and again to the truth that connection is what we are made for. When we choose courage, we show that our hearts are strong enough to open. When we choose presence, we remind each other that the moment we share is precious. When we choose compassion, we dissolve the illusion that we are alone. When we choose trust, we create a foundation strong enough to hold love. When we choose to listen with the heart, we give each other the gift of being seen and heard. When we choose acceptance, we honor each soul as sacred and complete. And when we allow all of this to expand outward, we participate in something larger than ourselves, the weaving of humanity into one vast tapestry of love. The path of initiation is not hidden. It is not reserved for saints, sages, or mystics. It is available here and now, in every conversation, in every relationship, in every encounter. Each time we choose to move from heart to heart, we awaken the sacred within ordinary moments. We transform connection from something casual into something holy. And maybe, just maybe, this is what the world is longing for. Not more walls, not more distance, not more division, but more hearts willing to open, to trust, to listen, to accept, and to love. This is the initiation before us. This is the path to connection. And it begins, always, with the choice we make in this very moment, to live, to give, and to meet each other from heart to heart.